Hi, I'm Rulla Alani, and today I'm going to be talking about two words that can help transform your marriage. It is so important to use this language if you want to heal your marriage and ensure that it's the strongest it can be. Before getting into a marriage, you need to realize one thing: you will both hurt one another. I know that that's a scary fact to even fathom or wrap your head around, but it's the truth. And instead of believing this butterflies and rainbows and sunshine and happiness at all times, it's a lot more helpful to envision the reality of what marriage is. And it is a relationship that's fragile. It's a relationship like any other relationship that's going to have its own conflicts. And so we must realize that there are going to be times when we are going to hurt our partner. More than likely, it's going to be unintentional, and it can be as simple as saying something that we didn't mean, or perhaps just not giving our partner the energy and the space and the undivided attention that they deserve. It can be not even related to them. It can be that we are struggling with something internally, emotionally, or at work, and for some reason we take out the steam on them. So this is a reality that we need to accept before we even walk into a union. None of this, I will never hurt you, I promise to never hurt you, because that is BS. It will happen. None of us are perfect. We are all flawed, and there is going to be a time and a day when you say something that you truly didn't mean. It's really important to just approach marriage with this reality that I am a flawed being, and there is going to be a time that I'm going to hurt you, but it's not about the conflict or the problem or the issue. It's about how we repair it. There was actually a longitudinal study done by the Gottman Institute, and if you don't know, these are two psychologists that really analyze relationships and marriages and what makes marriage susceptible to divorce and to failure, and what traits keep them together. The Gottman Institute found that conflict isn't the problem. It's how couples repair after conflict that predicts long-term success. So what Dr. John Gottman himself has said is it's not whether you fight, it's how you make up. And this is so important, because a lot of us will perceive a relationship where there is no arguments, no fights, as one that is healthy. But that is actually far from the truth. That relationship can harbor so much hostility and animosity, but perhaps it's unspoken. And so I think the healthiest marriages are the ones in which they can speak about things that are challenging. They can undergo conflicts. They can ride the wave of challenges, but come out stronger on the other side. The two words that will repair your marriage and will make your marriage so much stronger are "I'm sorry." This is when you say, "I'm sorry," from a place that is truly heartfelt, that is truly raw. It's not robotic. It's not just saying it out of expectation. They are an acknowledgement that we have hurt someone and that we are willing to do something that will repair this damage. We realize that we were the cause of this person's pain, and we want to make it better. We want to hold space for them. We are not going to hide behind a facade. We are not going to shy away from taking accountability. We are going to own the truth that we did this thing, we said this thing, we caused pain and hurt. And that can be a very vulnerable place, because a lot of us don't want to admit our mistakes. I have been there before where I was just so stubborn, and I thought that saying sorry was a form of defeat or a sign of weakness, but that cannot be further from the truth. When you take emotional accountability and you actually say, "I'm sorry," you show how strong you are. You show that you actually have the maturity and the capability to reflect on the decisions and actions you've taken and to course correct. Because as we all know, We're not always going to say the right thing. We're not always going to make the right choice, but it is up to us to reflect, was that the right thing to do? And if it wasn't, we are actually going to acknowledge that so we can move forward with emotional accountability. Another thing that I love about the phrase "I'm sorry" is it shifts our energy immediately from defensiveness to connection. So instead of trying to build a wall, instead of trying to argue my point, instead of trying to reason and explain why I did the thing, why I said the thing, I am actually just wanting to connect. I am actually just wanting to hold my husband. I'm actually just wanting to look him in the eye, hold his hands, and feel him. I'm not over here trying to prove my point or to argue any further. I just want us to come closer. And "I'm sorry" is such a beautiful bridge because it brings us back to each other. Instead of avoiding it, instead of making a mountain out of a molehill and making it worse, we are saying, you know what? What's done has been done, but now I want to focus on repair. I want to focus on apologies. I want to focus on connection and actually fostering our love and our bond. Love is the opposite of ego, because what does our ego generally try to do? It tries to make up stories for why we're right, for why they're the villain and we're the victim. Our ego is always making up these stories to protect itself, right? From facing the fact that it was wrong. Saying sorry is actually making you so much stronger, so much more resilient, so much more emotionally intelligent. So let go of all those stories and realize that our number one goal as humans is love and community. It's not to be right. It's not to be the one who got the last word. It's to truly just love and be loved. So when you realize that that is our innate purpose and desire as humans, it just melts away all those stories and it allows you to truly own up to your faults and to apologize. One thing that happened with my husband and I is, obviously I'm an entrepreneur, he's more on a fixed work schedule. So there would be times where I would go and want to talk to him about something and he'd be in the middle of a work thing. And obviously I didn't get the memo, so I would just keep talking to him and then he wouldn't be giving me his undivided attention, obviously because he's in the middle of a work thing. And vice versa, it would happen that he would come down to my office and he's not expecting me to be in work mode, but I am. So he'll come in with news or with something to share and I'm clearly not in the right headspace. So in those moments, it can be so simple for us to just be looking at the screen while the other person's wanting to share something. And right after that happens, and let's say your partner walks out the door, you can feel, oh my God, I just completely neglected them. I just completely abandoned them. I just completely didn't give them the energy, the space, the love, the looking in the eyes and making eye contact that they deserve. I'm so sorry that I was dismissive. I'm so sorry that I wasn't giving you my undivided. And then you are asking to have that conversation, whether it be in that moment or tonight. It's like, when is the best time for you so we can talk about that, so I can actually be present for the story you wanted to share. Let's say you're having a bad day at work and your partner comes in and they're talking to you and somehow you raise your voice or you let out some steam on them and they are not deserving of that. I am so sorry that I raised my voice at you. You don't deserve that. I respect you. I love you. When we apologize, we want to truly do it from a place of intentionality. We want to do it in a way where the person actually feels like this is something that they've reflected on, they've thought about, and I don't think they're going to repeat this mistake because they are taking accountability and they are fully aware of what they did wrong. Apologies actually reduce cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So a 2022 study in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that couples who practice intentional repair, which included apologies, were 3 times more likely to report long-term relationship satisfaction and emotional safety. This tells us that saying I'm sorry and apologizing, it's not weakness, it's actually emotional leadership, and it can bring so much fulfillment to your marriage. So please don't shy away from saying these words, okay? Now, what happens if conflict happens, if challenges arise, if we make mistakes and we don't repair it? what happens is resentment. It ends up being bottled up, it ends up adding up, and next thing you know, our partner will seemingly explode at us because they are holding on to all this pain, to all these feelings that were never met, that were never resolved, that were never talked about. So never think that just pushing something under the rug is the way to go about it, or, oh, well, my partner seems like they got over it, so I'm not going to mention it, or it was several hours ago, I don't need to address that. Always address it. And there have been times where I've told my husband, like, I'm sorry about blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, babe, you don't need to apologize for that. But the fact is, I still do. And it's because I want him to know that my first and foremost priority on this earth is being a good wife. And it might have not even been a big deal, but I am building that muscle of apologizing. And I'm not letting my ego win. I'm not letting stories consume my mind and block the connection that my husband and I have, which is the most important thing to me. So something silly that happened, I think this was about a year ago, my husband and I had gotten into this argument, and all the things that shouldn't have happened all at once. So I'll give you guys a little rundown because I want you guys to just get the full vibe of what happened. So I had a very important call, and I made an investment in myself on that call without actually talking to my husband, which usually I would kind of get his feedback, but I was just ready to go for something. So I got on this call, I made an investment in myself, and I was very excited to tell my husband. Now, my husband comes downstairs. He has a very limited lunch break. So his brain is thinking about lunch, right? He's hungry. He's hangry probably. So he walks in my office, and I start to tell him, oh, I made this investment, blah, blah, blah. And instead of in that moment, him giving me time and presence, which is what I desired, was for him to just hold me and congratulate me. He was like, oh, you did that? Did you, like, he was in a sense doubting my decision a little bit and saying, like, did you read testimonials? Did you read reviews? And just as I was like trying to talk to him about this, he turned around and walked to the kitchen. And so now I'm following him into the kitchen, obviously, because I'm like, hear me, I need to talk to you. And he's like, oh, so what's for lunch, blah, blah. And I got so upset in that moment. And it was something as simple as I was telling him something that was important to me, and he didn't recognize that that was important to me in that moment. What was important to him was eating, because he only had 30 minutes till his next call. And so this is what I'm saying. Communication can be so important in that I, for example, could have said, I have something important to tell you. Can I tell you right now? And he would have probably said, oh, babe, after lunch. Or he could have came in the room and said, babe, I'm really hungry. Can we talk about this after? If any of us had said one of those things, we would have avoided this whole argument, right? But what happened is this dragged on because now I'm eating lunch by myself. I feel like he's not seeing me, hearing me, listening to me. He's feeling like, oh, she didn't care about me. She didn't make me lunch. And so I decided to actually go to the sauna because that's kind of just a great place for me to unleash steam, to get into my meditation, and to just come back more calm and more composed. So it was very funny because what was my ego telling me to do at that moment? It was saying, just go off to sauna. Don't even tell him where you're going. Just storm out the door, slam the door. He's going to be so curious as to where you're going. Let him wonder. And of course, that is such an emotionally immature way to think. But unfortunately, as humans, our minds always go and resort back to this very childish place because we are not thinking clearly. When we are in this stress state, when we are in this sad and broken state, we are not thinking clearly. And so in that moment, I heard my voice saying these things, and I was like, no, I am committed to having a healthy marriage, and I'm not just going to storm out of the door and not tell my husband where I'm going. So I was like, I'm going to the sauna. And I didn't say it in a nice way, but I was like, I am telling him what I'm doing, because as my husband, he deserves to know where I'm at, and I want him to know where I'm at. And so obviously when I came back from sauna, we had both cooled off, and we were able to just have this delicious, yummy reconciliation where I was like, baby, I really wanted to tell you about this investment. It meant a lot to me. It felt like you were brushing me off. You walked to the kitchen and I was following you in there to talk to you. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I know that that was important to you. I was just super hungry and I didn't have enough time to have something to eat. We were just able to tell each other what was going on in our own respective minds, because obviously when you are in a marriage, of course, you know this person so well, but you can't read their every thought and feeling. And so to have these talks where you're able to just come clear and say, you know what, this is how I was feeling. And I told him, I was like, I really felt like you abandoned me. Like, I know that sounds silly, but I felt abandoned. I felt like my husband was not there in that moment to cheer me on and congratulate me. And it felt like you just walked away from me. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I was just going to heat something up. So anyways, we both apologized. And in that situation, we were both sorry, of course, right? Because he was sorry for not saying he was hungry. And I was sorry for not telling him, hey, this is important news. Do you have the space right now to be in this moment with me? Okay. So apologizing is so important. It wasn't a beautiful situation, right? Like, we didn't apologize immediately. We had lunch separately. There was an hour or two where we were like just in a funk, but we were able to come back together, and there was no name calling. There was no yelling. There was no lying. There was no deception. There was simply us clearing our minds, clearing our heads, and coming back and just professing to each other how sorry we were, and just saying, I love you, and holding one another and hugging and kissing and having that makeup and that reconciliation. And now when we look back to that day, we always laugh about it and we always joke about it, because now it's no longer this point of contention. It's no longer this thing that is swept under the rug, or this thing that is now harboring and causing hostility and passive aggression. It's something that we have already healed from. So this is why I'm sorry is so powerful. It prevents grudges, it prevents passive aggression, and it prevents emotional shutdown. So 3 things that I want you guys to implement when you say these 2 words are: first, timing. The timing matters. So perhaps you are not in the state to apologize right after the thing happens. Just like in my example, I didn't apologize immediately, and same with him. Wait until your nervous system calms down a little bit and then address it, okay? Now, obviously you want to do this probably within the day, because you don't want to have this thing dragged out, okay? So wait until you're cooled down and relaxed. It usually takes like an hour or a few hours, okay? Second is name the hurt and be specific. So when I apologized to my husband, I told him, I'm so sorry I didn't cook you a meal and have it ready for you during lunchtime. I was just busy with whatever investment I made, and I was just lost in that moment, and I didn't really plan ahead to have your lunch ready. And when he apologized, he said, I am so sorry for walking away from you when you were sharing important news with me. And I'm so sorry that I made you feel abandoned in that moment. And then third is to hold space. So after you apologize, look into their eyes, hold their hands, hug them. As we know, hugs are so therapeutic. I mean, I didn't pull up stats on that, but I know for a fact that hugs reduce cortisol, and it really increases our bonding and love towards one another. So just remember, conflict is inevitable, but resentment is optional. The couples who last are not the ones who avoid problems. It's the ones who face them head on, and they learn to repair, apologize, and reconnect, okay? I'm sorry are 2 of the most healing words in a marriage. Trust me. Watch how the walls begin to melt when you truly tap into this apologetic energy. Okay. And then I want you to comment down below if you have experienced a powerful moment when you or your loved one apologized. I just want to hear that, because I think it's so special to talk about those moments. So many people talk about the ugly things, but they don't really talk about the repair and how they were able to come back together in their union stronger than ever. Okay. So let's normalize apologizing and letting go, because like I mentioned in the beginning, hurt is inevitable. We're gonna hurt one another. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of life, but it's what we do afterwards that truly matters the most. And I want to end this off by saying that I am a dating coach and I work with individuals who are married and in relationships. So it doesn't necessarily need to be someone who is on a dating app or looking for love. I work with couples, I work with singles, I work with divorcees, widows. So definitely reach out if you would like to work with me in a one-on-one setting. And if not, I will see you all in the next video. I love you guys so much. And just remember that love is truly medicine for our soul. And anytime we are in this funk, it is up to us to heal and to get out the other end with a stronger foundation. So I love you guys. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.